This situation could seriously fracture the Los Angeles Lakers. Rich Paul, who represents LeBron James, found himself publicly challenged by the camps of Luka Doncic and Austin Reaves. The tension all traces back to an odd remark he made, floating the idea of trading one or even both of them.
If I were the Lakers, I would give serious consideration to moving Luka. I can get Luka and Austin are redundant.
I'm fine either way.
But that was just the beginning. That single comment escalated into a full-blown confrontation, serious enough that others had to step in and calm things down. And it didn't end there. Rich Paul doubled down, going on a media tour where he criticized Luka and Reaves while shaping a narrative that ultimately shielded LeBron. Let's be clear. None of this is normal. Not for an agent, not for the NBA, and definitely not for a team that should be focused on winning, not managing controversy. Agents are supposed to operate behind the scenes. If you're hearing an agent's voice this often, something has already gone off track. Their role is to protect their clients and preserve stability, not create distractions. Take someone like Jeff Schwartz. He represents elite talent across the league, including Nikola Jokic. Yet you never see him publicly dissecting team dynamics or calling out teammates. That's not because he lacks opinions. It's because he understands his responsibility is to maintain environments, not disrupt them. Rich Paul, on the other hand, has taken the opposite approach. He consistently steps in front of microphones, offering opinions on players. He doesn't even represent players who share locker rooms with his own clients. That alone creates tension. But once reports surfaced that this spilled into an on-court confrontation, it stopped being just talk. Because think about it. This is an agent publicly evaluating teammates and framing Luka Doncic and Austin Reaves as problems, while completely avoiding any accountability tied to LeBron. At that point, it starts to feel like Paul is operating as a shadow GM1 who influences narratives without facing the consequences.
I personally don't think the Lakers are good enough to be contenders right now. Not right now.
When you say contenders, what do you mean?
I don't think they have enough to get to the...
This goes beyond criticism. It starts to feel like outright deflection. Because now, everyone else is taking the blame except the 41-year-old at the center of it all. At some point, you have to ask, why does that never change? What makes this even more unusual is how Rich Paul operates. He's doing something you almost never see from an NBA agent, actively shaping public narratives. He's protecting LeBron James's image, reinforcing his brand and using media appearances to control the conversation, all while LeBron stays completely silent. And then came the moment that really escalated things. On a podcast, Paul didn't hesitate. He openly called out Luka Doncic, saying, "He doesn't play defense." Just like that. A blunt statement aimed at a player who's not only leading the team in scoring, but also orchestrating the offense at an elite level. Yes, Luka's defense has had inconsistencies, but framing it as his defining flaw, especially at this stage, feels misleading. But Paul didn't stop there. He went on to praise Anthony Davis as the true championship-caliber defensive piece, essentially reinforcing the idea that Luka is the problem. And at the same time, he backed Nico Harrison, treating the trade logic like a masterstroke built on the idea that defense wins championships. The irony? Harrison was let go just months later, and the team he reshaped has been struggling ever since. Meanwhile, Luka is putting up superstar numbers: 37 points, 9 assists, nearly 8 rebounds per game, yet the narrative being pushed focuses almost entirely on his defensive shortcomings, while ignoring the bigger picture. That's where this starts to look strategic, BB. Highlighting Luka as a liability, and elevating AD as the solution, Paul is subtly influencing how fans, media, and even the league view the team's future. And through all of it, LeBron remains untouched by criticism.
The Lakers, I would probably be targeting the Memphis Grizzlies as a trade partner for Jaren Jackson.
Yeah, that'd be a great fit.
I would.
For whom?
You could say, let me withhold that, but this comes with a
Austin Reaves.
This comes with a very unemotional.
Let that sink in for a second. This is a current Laker, someone grinding every night alongside LeBron James, and he's being publicly placed on the chopping block by an agent who doesn't even represent him. And if you're thinking it's just harmless talk, it's not. In the NBA, comments like that carry weight. It's the kind of thing that sends a message across the entire league. But it didn't stop there. On another podcast appearance, Rich Paul went even further, suggesting that Austin Reaves should simply accept a reduced role coming off the bench, staying quiet, and letting the spotlight remain on established stars like LeBron.
Austin Reaves, and who knows what happens by the playoffs, is Ginobili, right? In an ideal world,
on a championship team,
he's the killer sixth man, right? Yeah. On the Spurs, he'd be the sixth man, right? Especially back in the day.
The Spurs made that decision, and you know what Ginobili did? He embraced it. Right. And how many championships they win? 5.
Yeah.
It's those type of decisions to be made.
You don't even need to be an insider to see how disrespectful that comes off. And sure enough, analysts and reporters picked up on it right away. They called it out as unfair, unprofessional, and the kind of public messaging that quietly poisons a locker room if it keeps happening. Because at the end of the day, when a figure like Rich Paul keeps publicly weighing in on players like Austin Reaves, especially in ways that indirectly reinforce hierarchy around LeBron James, it doesn't just stay as opinion, it becomes pressure inside the team. And that's exactly why people around the league started reacting so strongly. Not because one comment breaks everything, but because patterns like this tend to build until they snap.
I think that's unfair to Austin.
Yeah.
I think this kid has shown that he can be, a go-to guy on the winning team. He's improved every single season.
Now you've got to understand why this hits a nerve. Austin Reaves isn't some high-profile prospect who walked into the league with hype and expectations. He came in undrafted, no guarantees, no spotlight, no safety net. Everything he has, he had to earn the hard way, minute by minute, game by game. And he didn't just survive in the league, he carved out a real role. When the pressure ramped up in the playoffs and every possession started to matter, he stepped into it and delivered. That's not noise, that's production when it counts. Then there's the contract situation. Reaves signed a team-friendly deal, the kind that gives the Lakers real flexibility to build around their core. That's a sacrifice move in today's NBA, especially from someone who could have pushed for more elsewhere. So when his name gets pulled into trade discussions or reduced role narratives, it doesn't land like just business to a player like that. It feels personal. It's about recognition for what he's already proving. And that's where the frustration starts to make sense. But beyond the numbers and contracts, Reaves has built a reputation inside the locker room that doesn't show up on highlight reels. He's known as a connector, someone who keeps the group steady, communicates, and earns trust from teammates night after night. That kind of value isn't always visible, but it's often what holds a roster together. So, when outside voices start framing him as replaceable, it naturally clashes with how he's viewed internally.
With his growth and the way he's continuing to improve and the trajectory that he's on right now, I have to disagree. I think he's earned the right to be a starter. I think he's a household name at this point in his career, and I think he'll only continue to...
You can't just label a player like that a sixth man and expect it to land quietly. For someone like Austin Reaves, who's fought his way from undrafted status into a real rotation piece, that kind of framing doesn't just feel like analysis. It feels disrespectful. And when emotions are already running high, comments like that don't stay on podcasts. They spill into real tension. Be halftime of the Hawks game. Things reportedly escalated behind the scenes when Reaves' representation confronted Rich Paul near the sideline. According to people in the arena, it got serious enough that staff had to step in and separate parties before it went any further. Whatever the exact details, the message from that moment was clear. The line between media commentary and locker room impact had already been crossed. And this is where the bigger picture matters. For someone like Luka Doncic, criticism of defense isn't new. Every superstar scorer deals with that label at some point. Analysts and media voices have long pointed to defensive metrics and matchup targeting as talking points. Even advanced breakdowns have shown opponents trying to attack him on that end.
Anytime you say anything about Bron, people call you and say, hey man, you might want, hey, You might want to chill. I know you got some funny stories and shit. So I know ain't nothing getting by. They whole camp. They run the league. They whole camp run.
That's not an exaggeration. It's the kind of thing NBA insiders talk about behind closed doors. Even veterans like Charles Barkley have at times criticized how certain power structures in the league operate, pointing out how influence and media leverage can shape narratives in ways most teams simply can't control. And that's what makes situations like this so sensitive, because when perception starts being influenced off the court as much as performance on it, the line between commentary and control gets a lot harder to define.
You know how that group works. They try to trade their players to where they want to.
Talk about the Rich Paul clutch.
Yes, they do it the way they want to.
Over the past 2 decades, LeBron James has had an undeniable level of influence on the teams he's been part of, from roster construction to coaching changes and front office direction. That influence has been widely discussed in media circles, especially in relation to major organizational shifts during his career. Some critics point to situations involving teammates and coaches like Russell Westbrook, David Blatt, and Frank Vogel as examples of how quickly dynamics can change when a franchise is built around a superstar presence. Supporters, however, argue that these decisions are simply part of competing at the highest level in a results-driven league. There have also been long-running discussions around player representation and agency influence, particularly involving Rich Paul and his role in shaping narratives and negotiations for top clients. His agency,